Well, we are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us Wednesday. Nick Barris, Clinton Keller. He's malpractice attorney here in town. Taking your phone calls if you want to jump in. 737-7587 to inquire about whether or not maybe you have a case, or maybe you just want to talk about malpractice law and how it's evolved. We'll get more into that perhaps. But let's go to Walter. Walter, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Walt. How can we help you?
Get you off speakerphone.
Okay.
You there?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. My question is not exactly about malpractice, and I'm going to leave the names out because this goes in a little bit of a different direction.
Okay.
My children lost their mother Sunday.
I'm sorry.
She was on Social Security, and she had a Social Security payment card. Well, apparently one of her family members had the card and had been using it, and my children can't use the money for her funeral to bury her. And they don't have the money to bury her, and they're trying to find a legal way to bury her because Social Security is slow.
Yeah, it is slow. And you know what I want to do, Walter? I'm going to put you on hold. Maybe, Clint, it's a little off base, but I'm going to put you, I want to get your phone number, and I will put you in touch with Josh Horn over at Social Security, who comes on this show. And maybe he'll be able to help you, and we can get the contact where you get through to someone and you can tell them your situation. I'll put you on hold and let Rick get your...
We've already contacted Social Security,
but
like I said, they have to mail forms.
Oh, okay.
And then the forms have to be brought back. And she died Sunday, and they want to bury her by this weekend, and she can't get a funeral home to help.
I see.
The state is just pretty much saying they can cremate her. She didn't want to be cremated.
Yeah, that...
Got the money coming, but they can't get anybody to help them until this case is solved. They guarantee her the money will come back.
Oh, I see. And yeah, you're right. And the wheels turn slowly with Social Security. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I mean, that's like I said, it's a little bit off topic. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. If you don't, I don't know what else he can do in terms of getting what for the indigent. If that's her situation, they don't have the money to bury her. Yeah, I guess it's left to the state. What do they do typically? Is it a cremation? Is it a burial where, you know, they just do it? What does happen to, like, homeless when they're found, you know, perhaps deceased and they don't have the means?
Nick, I don't have a clue.
I don't know.
I mean, there's got to be some remedy. He said that the funeral home won't help him, and it seems like there would be some charity that would help him in that situation. What messes this up is the theft of the card.
Yeah. And
Social Security investigating this as if, I mean, I would think that you would pay for a burial no matter what, even if the card were stolen. But if they're not, there's got to be some charitable alternative.
Right. And on the other hand, too, if you suspect that Social Security eventually is going to get to the bottom of this and have the monies available, maybe that's something where you say, look, I mean, can we do this? And you know, we'll pay you when Social Security does. I don't know. That's up to a funeral home if they go that route. I wish we could do more help, Walter, but that's a little off topic. I don't know if Josh Horn was on with Social Security, we could help you out more, but I'm sorry for you going through that, and I'm sorry for your loss. Let's go to Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey, Joe, what's on your mind?
Just comment to Mr. Kelly about the laws in Tennessee are set up to discourage people from malpractice suits from doctors and hospitals and things. And it's clear to see that that's true, and I'd like to hear his comment on that. But that being said, I personally witnessed a malpractice case is close to me that at the time didn't know what to do, didn't know how to do it or whatever. And it's later on in life that this person is going to be, you know, disabled just pretty well because of this. And I'd urge anybody that thinks they have a malpractice suit to contact Mr. Kelly and at least discuss it with him and see if he can give them an answer to where they've got a suit or not.
Well, in answer to his question, first of all, the system is set up against the patient. And
how so?
Well, there are a number of different things. We call them procedural hurdles. The first thing you have to do is you've got to give notice to the doctor by means of in essence, a notice that has to meet certain legal requirements. And then you have to file suit within 120 days of giving that notice. And if that notice is not perfect, then you run the risk of having your case dismissed before you even get a chance to file it, in essence. Secondly, you do have to have an expert. I think that's a good requirement. No lawyer should have to file or should be allowed to file a medical malpractice case without an expert, but the fact remains you have to have one. And if you don't have the right kind of expert, again, you can have your case dismissed. The caps, that is my heartburn, is the caps that are placed on damages, because there are people, particularly elderly people, those in nursing homes, who are injured badly through really bad care. And you can't afford to bring those cases because you're capped at $750,000, and people may say, well, that's a lot of money, Mr. Kelly. Well, not when you look at the fact that the lawyer has to invest $100,000 to get the case to court and take the risk that the case will be lost. And then, of course, you have to look at the prospect of an appeal. And the nursing home, if there's only a $750,000 potential exposure, they can afford to pay that. Their insurance is never at risk. One other thing he didn't mention is also true, is the fact that juries are extremely conservative. They just don't award damages these days unless there is clear and convincing evidence that there's been medical malpractice. I don't know if it's a lack of concern for fellow man. I don't know if it's the McDonald's coffee case that still lingers with us, you know, some 25 years later, but the fact remains that there is a resistance on the part of jurors to find doctors and hospitals liable. I think that's going to change. I think that pendulum will swing, because I believe that people are now starting to figure out that medicine and healthcare is a business. I mean, my wife's in the healthcare business, and it is truly a business now. And if you have any doubt about it, just watch the commercials on TV advertising for hospitals and doctors. The days of Marcus Welby are long gone. Yeah. So I think the pendulum will swing back, but in the meantime, there are going to be certain legal hurdles we're going to have to pass or get over in order for a patient to get their day in court, and that's why you need an experienced lawyer to do that. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Just another basic point we want to make for our viewers, who of course are in a situation, most of them that come to you, they don't have the money to pay a retainer to hire a lawyer to come up front. That's why you're picky on your cases. You only get paid, again, as you said, if you win, and you take some risk. You invest a lot of money in a case, and if you lose, you're out that money. The defendant, or your client, is not out anything. Correct. So when you take on their case, you don't have to pay anything to hire Clinton Kelly. You just need to convince him that you have a case, correct? A meritorious case, which is why I probably only take maybe 1 or 2 out of every 100 cases to investigate, and even fewer than that to go forward, because I have to satisfy myself that I can win the case. Otherwise, I can't take it. I can't afford to take it, nor would it be in my client's interest to take a case that's not meritorious, because in the end, all that's going to cause is a lot of emotional trauma on top of the injury or suffering that the patient's gone through already. Again, the number 737-7587, questions or comments, and we'll lay out some different cases for you, but I want to ask you this: how often do you actually go to trial? I mean, because you hear a lot of times, okay, especially when you get a slam dunk case that you get, it comes to a settlement, because if it goes to trial, of course, then it goes public, and then everyone can hear what this doctor or hospital did to this patient, and it's not good for business, right? So I would think it's in their interest, if they know they're toast, not to battle you and settle, correct? That's, in general, that's true. They will pay if they know that you've got the goods on them. If you know that, if they know your case is strong, very strong, they will generally pay. And these things come in waves, Nick. Like, I'll have one year where I try 3 cases or 4 cases. That's, believe me, that's a long year. And then I'll have another year, or maybe 2 years, where a lot of cases will settle. They'll get resolved. Interesting. And I don't know, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It depends on the atmosphere, it depends on the type of doctors or hospitals that you're suing, and obviously it depends on the type of claim. I settle more cases than I try, and basic reason for that is I'm getting paid more than I used to get paid, but that's also because I'm more picky about the cases I take. I'm not taking as many close calls anymore, because I've lost enough close calls to teach me the lesson that I can't afford to take them anymore. I was going to say, so that's whether it goes to trial sometimes also is how strong a case you have. Correct. I mean, you have some where you know probably going in, these guys are going to probably want to settle. Correct. Whereas other kinds, I want to, you know, as Clint always does his homework and brings us in. I'm just curious, you have some case examples here, maybe of some things that, you watch what happens case law across the country, don't you? Correct. Yeah. One of the things that I have noticed is on the increase, or the number of physicians who are going into rehab and coming back out of rehab to practice in hospitals, and then going back into rehab. And I harken back to this case in California with this lady who had breast reconstruction surgery by, actually it was a general surgeon. I don't know why. You would think it'd be a plastic surgeon who did it. But this surgeon had been, first of all, it was botched. She had a major infection and ended up losing both of her breasts. And she brought a lawsuit against the hospital, and she was able somehow to get some background information on this doctor, which I would think is usually is privileged, but she got her hands on it. And it turns out this surgeon had been in and out of rehab 5 different times, and the hospital still allowed him to practice, which kind of makes you wonder about his credentialing and privileging.
But was he practicing legally? I mean, no one likes that fact, but he was legal.
And his supervisor, okay, we would think his counselor, was someone in his own office. That was the person that was making sure he showed up to work sober. And apparently he was able to get past this person, and one of the nurses that was working with him during surgery smelled alcohol on him and turned him in. And finally he was taken off the premises, was not allowed to practice again in that hospital. And turns out now he moved to another state and he is practicing in another state.
And that's not Tennessee, is it?
No, no.
You wonder if there's someone like that. That's how you think about drinking and driving, as awful as that is. Imagine drinking, having a scalpel, and cutting on someone. I mean, that just boggles the mind, well, and that's scary.
Would you get in an airplane if you knew that the pilot had been drinking?
Right, of course not. I mean, all those are very obvious, but you don't think, it's almost a given. We know sometimes, obviously, drunk drivers, unfortunately, and we've done stories sometimes on pilots that have had a few too many cocktails, which is awful. But a surgeon drunk or having a drinking problem, and just literally they're cutting on this woman and he's drunk.
Well, doctors are people, and sometimes patients forget they're not. They're not above problems that afflict the rest of the population, and therefore you're going to have drunks in the operating room from time to time. It's just a fact of life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be alcohol. It can be, physicians taking strong prescription drugs or taking street drugs. Yeah. And it's endemic to this nation. I mean, it can be any type of professional can be under the influence, and sometimes people don't know it. But in particular with medicine, the consequences are awful because the patient's life is in that doctor's hands. And if that doctor's impaired, the consequences, of course, can be deadly.
Take a break on that note. When we come back, we've got some more calls for you, and we'll continue our conversation with malpractice attorney Clint Kelly. Lines open, 737-7587. We can squeeze you in. We've got until 9 o'clock. You sticking around?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll be right back.